We pray that those impacted are kept safe and that they can
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Is Glenn around? Father, can you lead us?
Yeah,
through?
Mr. Chair, I can hear.
A translation from Hebrew, and was known as the Septuagint. As a protege of Pope Damasus, he was given duties in Rome. And during his time, he was supported by several well-to-do women in Rome. Upon the death of his patron, Pope Damasus, he was forced to leave Rome, and in 364 became as his contemplation of the immorality of Rome. He died on the 30th of September 420, and he is the model voluminous writer of ancient Christianity after St. Augustine, and is the patron saint of translators, librarians, and encyclopedists. His feast day, as I mentioned, is on the 30th of September, the date he died. Let us pray the prayer written by Saint Jerome. O Lord, you give of life and of your word the light to shine upon our path. Grant us so to meditate on that word and follow its teaching, that we may find it in the light that shines more until the perfect day. Saint Jerome, pray for us all. The students and athletic teams of St. Jerome are affectionately known as St. Jerome Lions, named after the legendary incident when a limping lion came to St. Jerome while he was teaching in Bethlehem. While the others fled, the saint welcomed the lion and removed the thorn from the injured hoof. What a wonderful reminder of the courage it takes to welcome an unexpected visitor. For kickoff, their feast day celebration on September 30th, the school community begins the duty with special announcements and prayers inspired by the life of Saint Jerome. In addition, a faith mentor prepares a slide checklist with stories, videos, facts, and resources that educators can break open with their classes to mark this important occasion. Once the real 3 slides, we will see how the school community embodies St. Jerome's way of life. St. Jerome was a hard worker. Students model this when they focus on the growth mindset and perseverance when faced with challenges. St. Jerome was a well-known writer. At St. Jerome's, they honor the strength of nurturing and building great writers. St. Jerome was known for his teachings on Christian life and dignity. At St. Jerome, they honor each individual for who they are by identifying and celebrating differences. St. Jerome celebrates the Catholic faith through the collecting donations to share their gifts at Christmas. Students and staff also enjoy sharing their faith through storytelling. They grow in understanding by exploring and our annual spiritual theme and participate in the traditions such as the Stations of the Cross. That's it.
Thank you, Father. Trustee Armstrong, you still there?
Yes, I can hear it. Thank you.
Did you have a point of order?
I'm going to try to amend the agenda when the agenda comes up.
Okay. There are no delegations. There's no public session. Approval of the agenda. You have something to add, Trustee Armstrong?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. With the attention the Halton District School Board has generated, many questions coming forward to their
What is the
community.
agenda
to
item?
our
We're not
community
going to
and
discuss it right at this
beyond.
moment.
I would like to bring an urgent motion to ask for a report for information on dress code to be reported back by the director by December 22nd, 2022. Urgent motion. Thank you.
Can you send that to me in writing? Because I'm not clear.
Yes, I sent it to Jeff Edwards, has it in his email box.
Just a point of order, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
It sounds like what the trustee is proposing should fall under item J, trustee motions. I don't believe that the motion was submitted in advance, so I've not seen a written copy of it, so I'm not able to make a decision or comment on that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it was submitted to Jeff Edwards in advance.
Okay, that's no good, Trustee Armstrong. It would
Point
have to
of
be
order,
submitted to
Mr. Chair.
myself.
I would suggest that this should go under notice of motions.
Okay, Trustee Armstrong, if you could submit that as a notice of motion, and we'll proceed with the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you. Trustee Whitted,
So I'll move the agenda as written.
thank you. Seconder, Trustee Warren. Moved by Trustee Whitted and second by Trustee Warren that the agenda of the regular board meeting of September 27, 2022 be approved as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have no student departmental profile. Declarations of conflict of interest, we have none. Mr. Vice Chair? None. Confirmation submitted to the regular board meeting of September 13, 2022. I move it, please. Trustee Coburn and Trustee DeKemp. That the minutes of the regular board meeting of September 13, 2022 be adopted as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Unfinished business from previous board meetings? None. Trustee motions? None. Presentation and consideration of committee reports, Committee of the Whole, February 27, 2022. Mr. Fleischer?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Item L1, presentation and consideration of staff or trustee reports, memo from the Superintendent of Leading and Learning, Summer Institutes 2022. Welcome Superintendent Slack, Ms. Bethune, and Ms. Trangs. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you for having the Leading and Learning Department here this evening to share to you our Summer Institute Professional Learning Series that took place this past August. I am here with Laura Bethune, our Leading and Learning Officer, and Alana Trines, our Coordinator of Indigenous Education, who coordinated the program this past summer. They will share with you the Summer Institute's updates, and then we would be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. It's our pleasure to share with you this evening some information regarding the Summer Institute's program this year. Sorry, just checking our clicker. There we go. So each year, staff from across the system have the opportunity to engage in optional, flexible, and relevant learning through our Summer Institutes program, which runs the end of August. This year, that was August 22nd to 30th. So the Summer Institute's professional learning offers curated learning, curated by and for our staff. And I think that is what makes it a truly unique learning opportunity. Ottawa Catholic School Board staff come forward to facilitate subjects that in areas that they are specialists in or that they're passionate about. And this is what makes it truly unique for our staff. So we had a robust schedule this year. We had 67 sessions run, over 850 registrations, which we're really proud of. And that was all over the course of about 6 days. So the switch to a primarily virtual format happened over the last couple of years, of course, due to COVID and our response to COVID. But what we have found over the last couple of years is that the virtual format was very, very well received. And even as we've sort of come out of COVID a little bit, staff really like the virtual format. It allows them during their vacation time, still at the end of August, to participate from anywhere at a time that's convenient for them. Sorry, I'm just going to go back down. So when a facilitator wants to host a session, they submit a proposal to us. And one of the things that we're really interested to know more about is how it connects to deep learning. With that being such a focus of the board, we want to ensure that all of the content that we are putting forward for our staff in the system has some linkages to deep learning. So this is something that remains a really important focus for us. And we also use this information as we're putting out registration to the system so that the staff who are looking to partake in Summer Institutes have an opportunity to see what they are going to get out of the sessions. And so that deep learning remains a really important focus for us. One of the other interesting and important features for us, particularly in the virtual format, is that many of the facilitators offer the option to record their sessions, which means that staff can go back and replay it, or those who have missed an opportunity, if there are multiple sessions being offered at the same time, they can go back and also have an opportunity to see a session that they may not have been able to register for. And this gives us an opportunity to extend learning. One of the other features of Summer Institutes is we often supplement learning being provided by our internal staff with outside speakers. So this year, Omari Newton and Shelley Murphy were brought in to supplement the sessions that we were offering. And so some of the images you're seeing on your screen were from tweets that we put out to the system. Omari has presented to our system before, and his session this year was P is for privilege, and Shelley's was around the topic of mindfulness. So these were all very well received. And they also made direct linkages to topics such as equity and mindfulness, which are top of mind throughout our system on an ongoing basis. I don't know if the range of, there we go. So this is also, this screen captures a couple of tweets about other sessions. We had a great opportunity this year to collaborate with special education and student services, in particular, Dr. Richard Balduke, the mental health lead. And so this interdepartmental collaboration was a great opportunity to bring some very focused sessions to the system, and the focus was mental health and well-being. We offered 5 very specialized sessions. This one is Hannah Beach and Kevin Cameron, the 2 that are on your screen right now. And so this opportunity to focus on mental health and well-being, again, makes some very strong links back to the work that's going on, and addresses some of the concerns that we're hearing from staff about how to support them and students in their classroom. And in particular, these ones focused on how to build, nurture, and protect student-teacher relationships, which were very well received throughout Summer Institutes. And so I'm just going to hand it over to Alana to share with you the rest of our presentation.
Thanks, Laura. And I can see what you mean about this clicker. So our next strategic commitment that was focused on throughout the Summer Institutes is Be Community. And so we did offer a number of different opportunities for people to come together and obviously learn about how we can do community in a good way throughout our system. The 2 workshops that are on your screen right now, the first one was entitled Decolonizing Education, and that is based on a book by Marie Batiste. And we encourage educators throughout our system to take a good read of that text because it does exemplify how we can decolonize our system in a good way. And then the second shot that you see there was land-based learning. Folks got to go on a medicine walk with one of our community partners, Marlene Souliere, and she brought them through Fletcher's Wildlife Garden to be able to participate in a medicine walk and see all of the wonderful plants that we can use right here in Ottawa. And then the third strategic commitment is Be Innovative. And there were many different workshops that explored ways to leverage digital tools and also to offer deep learning opportunities throughout the system. So there was a session on podcasting that was pretty interesting, and they were able to use a number of different technologies to be able to facilitate that. And yeah, it was lots of good leveraging digital happening throughout the Summer Institutes. So what are the benefits then of having these Summer Institutes at the end of the summer for staff throughout the system? Not only do they provide a lot of really great voluntary professional development opportunities for participants, but they also allow for leadership opportunities for facilitators. They can hone their presentation skills and also put out there some knowledge and wisdom that they've accumulated over the years for the rest of the staff. We also are able to offer involvement for the wider community. And I can say that we had alumni actually come back this year in a couple of different sessions as well to be able to present on what they've done after they were completed within the OCSB school system. So that was pretty special. Also, we're able to share our pride and our learning through social media outlets. And participate in collaboration, one of those 6 C's of deep learning that we're able to participate in with the Summer Institutes as well. And to be proud of our system experts who are able to share their knowledge. And finally, you can see our hashtag there. So if you are someone who's on social media, you can certainly search that hashtag for other posts on Twitter. The Summer Institutes program certainly provides relevant and flexible learning opportunities for all, also providing leadership opportunities for staff and facilitators, and to highlight the learning that's happening throughout our system. So if you do have any questions at this time, we would be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments? Trustee Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I don't really have a question, but it's just wonderful to see how this has developed throughout the years. I mean, I taught in this 100 years ago, and you would have had about 10, 15 different courses, and to see the link for deep learning. So when I was reading this week, I thought, wow, congratulations. This is, it's wonderful. It's wonderful how many participate too. That's a big thing. So thank you very much for all your work.
Trustee Simpson.
I'd like to echo the same thing, that there are so many opportunities for leadership and to, share the expertise around the board, the school board. It's so gratifying to see how this is growing. I'm also happy to see that we haven't totally abandoned the some of the in-person, the face-to-face sessions, because I do know that teachers do love to get together and network and share. And so I'm glad to see that there is a balance, because I think it's great too that those that can't, come out to participate face-to-face have the opportunity to see the recorded sessions. It's great. And plus, I'd like to get in on some of these next summer.
Trustee Moore.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. My question is really about the length of the Summer Institute. Now that facilitators are allowing themselves to be taped or recorded, do you see that perhaps next year your jobs could extend many more weeks, ladies, as the Summer Institute rolls right into almost Thanksgiving, to allow people who, might go on a 8-week trip the chance to do some professional development on the side when they get home?
Through you, Mr. Chair, anything is possible.
Any other questions or comments? I hear a blip. Trustee Armstrong.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just a clarification on the seminar P for privilege. Just trying to get my head around that term. Does that fall under critical race theory? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question, Trustee Armstrong. We are not presenting right now on the content of our summer institutes. If you would like, I could find that out and we could get you that information if you like.
Just to follow up, Mr. Chair, just for my understanding, the term privilege, what does that mean?
I think your question has been asked and answered. That superintendent will get you the information on the program.
Thank you.
Trustee Moore. No, Trustee Simpson.
Just a final quick question. There's such a wealth of information here. Are you planning on cataloging somehow the recorded sessions so teachers can have access to them after the fact?
Typically what we do is those that have recorded their sessions, we sort of house them within a Google environment and share them as requested. But that's certainly something that we could entertain in terms of a method of sharing them out.
And if I could possibly also add to that, I think because you've just planted a seed now, we could essentially create a Summer Institute's site where all of these could be archived and then people could access them at their leisure.
Such great ideas that come from this board table. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for your presentation. As you said, it did get some good comments back and good interaction. So thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Trustee Moore and Trustee Lawrence. The memorandum from the superintendent of leading and learning dated September 20th, 2022, entitled Summer Institutes 2022 be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item L2, memo from the superintendent of continuing and community education, continuing and community education, English as a second language. Welcome, Superintendent Vladi, Ms. Tang, and Ms. Gauthier. Welcome.
So good evening, Mr. Chair. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with one of our educational consultants, Ms. Gauthier, with the Intermediate and Secondary Student Success Department, and Ms. Sang, English as a second language consultant with the Continuing and Community Education Department. This evening's presentation will highlight a new software program that we've been using this year to support the instruction with our English language learners. I think you'll find it quite interesting, and at this point, I'll turn it over to Ms. Gauthier to begin the presentation.
Thank you. Sinead and I are so pleased to be here with you in person tonight to share information about Binogi, a digital tool available to support math and science learners, primarily from grades 7 through 9. Binogi is an online platform that offers 3 to 5 minute long educational videos teaching math, science, and most recently geography concepts using engaging stories and animation. Each video includes a list of the concepts being taught, as well as a video transcript and quizzes to provide assessments for learning. Binogi is very unique from other video-based learning tools, such as YouTube.
We would like to provide a demonstration of the resource Binogi. We'd like to show you a video called Pay Now or Pay Later, which relates to financial literacy and the idea of credit payment. As you will see in the video, it begins with a character called Michael. There's Michael. And his desire to buy a moped. The setting of the story sets up the real-world context, which is important for the student's understanding. So Alex, if you could play the video and then show some of the features, thank you.
Ow. Aha. The store invites Michael to buy the moped in installments, a credit purchase. Then he'll pay a smaller amount each month, and he can ride home on his moped right away. Sounds good, doesn't it? Buy now and pay later? No, wait a moment, Michael. Let's do the maths first. Here's the plan for the installments. A smaller amount is to be paid each month for 24
mois, 2 ans. Maintenant, on peut comparer. Additionne tous les paiements pour l'achat de crédit. Le versement mensuel multiplie.
So I would just like to highlight some of the features of the video that you just watched. First of all, as I mentioned, the setting creates the real world scenario and shares the history of the innovation if they're discussing an innovation like the atom. In addition, Michael is one of a diverse cast of characters who allow our students to see themselves represented in the videos. The English language speed, as you probably noticed, is fluent and clearly articulated, but slightly slower paced from a natural speaking point of view. There's auditory input using voice actors available in multiple languages and visual output using subtitles also available in multiple languages. With transcripts and important concepts with definitions in English for students to review. Many of the videos have important words embedded, as you can see there. For example, installment in the video to draw students' attention to the important academic vocabulary. So if I can go back to the slideshow, please. The production behind Binogi video lessons is quite extensive. The process begins with teachers requesting videos on a particular topic. Then subject-specific experts work with script writers to create a story and a dialogue for the video. These scripts are translated into multiple languages by language experts to ensure accuracy and translation, particularly with the academic vocabulary. Then voice actors, who are first language speakers, provide the dialogue for the stories in the various languages. Finally, illustrators and animators create the images for the videos, after which teachers and students can provide feedback about the videos. In terms of our board framework, New Pedagogies for Deep Learning, Binogi allows us to leverage digital for students to make meaningful connections to the curriculum with the story and the use of their home language to build understanding. It also allows students to access higher order concepts, irrespective of their language, and build critical thinking skills. The resource fosters an inclusive learning environment where students can all use the same video that has diverse representation, which builds the students' self-esteem and confidence because they see themselves as capable learners in the environment rather than from a deficit perspective. Finally, it encourages parental involvement because students can access Benogi outside of school with their families and provides access points for discussion for caring adults in the students' lives to discuss and share their knowledge about their students' learning at school.
The videos and quizzes have many applications in the classroom in many formats. Teachers may use these tools as activation for learning, as part of the main lesson, as consolidation at the end of class, to close an achievement gap perhaps, and gain knowledge on material from prior grades, or as review at home.
One of the reasons that we are enthusiastic about accessing Benogi is the research partnerships that they have established with reputable universities that support its approach to learning for student engagement.
We're also very excited to provide teachers with the opportunity to engage in PD at various intervals throughout the year about Benogi. We will check in with school teams regularly this year to assess the effectiveness in the classroom and next steps as needed. So at this time, Sinead and I would be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments? Trustee Warren.
Thanks, through you, Mr. Chair. Great presentation. Thanks for putting this together. I'm just curious about the production time. It seems like it, with all the different steps involved, it'd be a long process to do that. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the production.
Through you, Mr. Chair. In discussion with Benogi, last year they put together 250 what they call events. So they are working. They have quite a production team that is constantly building new content. And in fact, from when Jen and I first learned about Benogi, they were only offering math and science content for Canada. And they're now also offering some geography content. So they really have expanded their repertoire quite rapidly.
Trustee Moore.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm really interested in the languages because what I worked volunteer as a reading lady for many, many years, having to explain that garden meant backyard and little things like that. That I noticed that this was a English speaker who was not of my accent. So do they provide a variety of accents within the languages? Would be my first question.
So I've watched several, through you, Mr. Chair, sorry. I've watched several of the videos, and yes, they have several different accents in English. So that one was, I think, probably closer to a British accent, but we also feel like that's an opportunity for learning in the classroom. With that particular video, I believe they talk about the Swedish krona. And so in one of our schools, they were using that as an activation activity at the beginning. Would you rather buy something in Swedish krona, or would you rather buy it for this amount in Canadian dollars? And so I really feel like it's an opportunity to create great global citizens.
May I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
Thank you. To you, Mr. Chair, the languages I'm seeing listed here, we're missing Mandarin, Punjabi, Hindi, some of the major languages that we see here, although seeing Arabic is awesome because we don't get enough of that. And as global citizens, do you see that happening now, especially with your input and the languages you're seeing?
Through you, Mr. Chair. We are giving Benogi feedback on a regular basis, as well as the teachers that are utilizing the platform. There is a means for teachers to submit requests in the platform, which Benogi is really considering as they go through production and deciding which videos to continue to look at for us. In addition, I know that coming to Canada and having us as a second school board in Ontario, trying to expand, that they are eager to look at our demographic and address those gaps in languages that may not be available.
Thank you very much. I really hope we'd see more growth with this and come back again. Thank you.
Trustee Coburn, then Lawrence, then Simpson.
Good, through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the presentation. My first comment is I'm wondering if you can show my wife that one on credit so that she can understand that. Secondly, in all...
Do you want that put in the minutes, Trustee Coburn?
In all seriousness, you alluded to it, I think, Jennifer, you alluded to it, how it's actually used in the delivery of lessons or when in the course. Could you expand on that a little bit as to whether teachers actually use it as part of their lesson planning or whether it's students' ability to go and use it, say, in the evenings or outside of, say, class hours?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Great question, Trustee Coburn. So students have flexibility to access the platform at any time. And that's what we really value about this, is that they can sit down with their guardian parent at home and engage in the learning with family. And so it opens up an opportunity to speak in their home language and explain or get feedback from a parent about the learning. And then in the classroom, because it is online, we can use this in a blended, the virtual school in person learning. And so the teacher can decide which videos to assign to their class. Generally, it's good for all. So we like to see good pedagogy with including all learners in the classroom to use this tool. And then the video quizzes are a great way to assess how much more time the student might need to engage in the content. So it can be a lesson outright, or as Sinead mentioned, it could be an activation for a lesson and discussion in class, and review as well.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. Just to assure you, we will deal with Trustee Coburn later. How widely is this being used in the board? I think it's marvelous. And how widely would you say it's being used at this moment? I know it's early in the year, but roughly.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your question, Trustee Lawrence. We have a lot of people in the board who utilized the tool last year as part of a pilot. So we asked for, Sinead reached out to a group of grade 7, 8, 9, 10 teachers. And through that pilot, we learned a lot. We had feedback from them on how to improve the platform and how to improve accessibility of getting students registered in the classes on the platform. And then this year we've had the portal being able to access the resource right directly through our OCSB portal. So all teachers can click from the main page. And for follow-up for PD, we did target grade 7, 8 math and science, as well as the D-streamed cluster of math and science teachers. So it is accessible to all teachers. However, we're providing a lot of support to those grades, those subjects.
Thank you.
Trustee Simpson.
I too just want to comment on how exciting this is. Something I was always concerned about myself when I was a teacher was early English language learners should still be using their own language to develop critical thinking skills. And that's something that we would always have to express to parents and their great desire for them to learn English faster. And I see this as a perfect vehicle. And I guess what I'm wondering is, have you had any parent feedback on how now they can become partners in developing something with their child in their own language?
At this time, through you, Mr. Chair, at this time, we have not had the opportunity to connect with parents on that front. As I mentioned, I'm very interested to learn about that and how parents feel about that. But at this point, that has not been an opportunity.
Trustee Whitted.
Thank you, through you, Chair. My question's sort of been asked and answered through Trustee Lawrence, but I just want to talk about maybe beyond the sort of ESL environment. That particular lesson that you showed fits very nicely with things like career studies and the ministry's new life skills and everyday, like financial literacy. So I'm interested to see sort of, maybe Superintendent Vlada, you can comment on what's our plan to sort of deploy that out a little bit further to extend it to, maybe upper levels of even high school, essentials level learning to teach some of those really important life and financial skills sets to students.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair, to respond to Trustee Whittett's question. In terms of the program itself, it was originally designed to support English language learners, and you saw some of the features in terms of the translation services. However, it is being used in classroom-wide. It's not only being used specifically to support that group of students. The content is relevant to the curriculum. The content is designed to be in those short videos, so it doesn't take over a lesson. It becomes the starting point of a lesson, or perhaps even doing that flipped classroom type of event. So it is absolutely critical and available for all teachers to be using for all the students. In terms of some of the upper grade levels, we have had some teachers reach out to us and say, I just found this video. I cannot believe how well it fits in with this grade 11 biology course, for example. The content is not entirely available for all subject areas. It doesn't have the capacity, or doesn't have the library of videos to reach itself all the way up to all the subject areas that matches the Ontario curriculum up to grade 12. That being said, Benogi continues to grow in terms of what's available. It is working with a number of countries and provinces to develop that library. So we see it growing, but the opportunities there, really, I think we're at the tip of the iceberg.
Is there any other questions or comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Trustee Armstrong.
Yeah, two questions, Chair. The first is there any risk to student privacy with data being compromised?
So through you, Mr. Chair, this initiative, as I should have said at the beginning, has been between our department, intermediate secondary student success, as well as our learning technologies department. So it's absolutely been vetted through the LT department in terms of addressing that. That would be an item that we would always want to be looking at for all software. So it's a very good question, and it has been vetted for that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, do these tools build student resilience? And if so, how?
So through you, Mr. Chair, anytime we can provide students with the opportunity to be independent, to have a bit more of control and guidance over their own learning, I would say we're contributing to their resiliency. The opportunity to have the access to these videos at school as well as at home, and to be working with parents to review the content on a regular basis, because it's not just a one-shot video opportunity. They can review it again. And there's a lot of content in there and terminology that's well labeled through the videos. All of those contribute to a student's self-esteem and resiliency in terms of looking at their learning and building some of that self-confidence that's so important.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments? Trustee McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. Okay, I want to go back to school. No, this is fantastic. And I don't have any questions. Just like you said, it's the tip of the iceberg, and I can see amazing opportunities here. Thank you for the presentation.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Let me ask, is there any other questions first? Go ahead, Trustee Armstrong.
Just a point of order. I didn't hear what Mr. Coburn, Trustee Coburn, said. I missed that.
That's 6 questions ago, asked and answered.
Yeah, I just didn't hear what he said. Could we have that repeated? I missed it.
I don't remember what he said either. It was asked and answered. Is there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your questions. Your presentation. I got a question. Did he buy the scooter? And how long did he amortize it up? How long did he amortize it for? And how much did it really pay for it in the end?
Hey, that could be an interest-free purchase.
I doubt it. Thank you very much. Can I have a mover, please? Trustee Warren and Trustee Whitted. That the memorandum of the Superintendent of Continuing and Community Education dated September 21st, 2022, entitled Continuing and Community Education English as a Second Language be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item L3, memo for the Superintendent of Student Success Elementary, Canada-wide Early Learning Care System. Welcome, Superintendent Montgomery, and welcome, Ms. Overhoff.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to be joined by our early years manager, Holly Overhoff. I would like to publicly thank Ms. Overhoff and her team who have put a significant amount of hours into preparing our EDP sites to be childcare licensed. My screen just went off, of course. Essentially, they put many hours into the program to be able to make this presentation tonight. And with that, she's going to be able to provide with us what is known publicly as the $10 a day daycare program, which is officially called Canada-wide Early Year Childcare System. So I will pass it over to Holly.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So a little bit about the Canada-wide Early Learning Childcare System, affectionately known here in Ottawa as the CWELC these days, also the $10 a day program or the National Childcare Plan. All right, so a little bit of history, and I probably should have brought some glasses, so I might need to do this. As many of you probably know, back in March, the province of Ontario signed onto the federal government's plan for national childcare. And this was going to lower the licensed childcare fees for younger children to an average of $10 a day by September 2025. As a first step, the affected families are going to see a 25% reduction in their childcare fees. And this was supposed to happen September 1st. It's been slightly delayed. We are now making our applications by November 1st, so it will happen in 2022 at some point. We'll see a 50% reduction at some point in 2023 with a look towards an average of $10 a day by 2025. And so what does this mean for our school board? In order for our extended day programs to participate in this program, we had to become licensed very quickly over the summer months. And so that was done. And I'm happy to say that by September 1st, all 44 extended day programs were licensed by the Ministry of Education. We will benefit from everything that comes along with being licensed. And hopefully in the years to come, that will actually mean more than just fee offsetting funding for families. It will also mean funding for the board. So the next step is for me to push the big red button on or before November 1st for the application. My understanding is the City of Ottawa will review those applications very quickly and get back to us with the amount of funding that's going to go back into the pockets of the parents by means of credit, and then lowering the fees for the kindergarten children moving forward. And our current understanding is that this is just for kindergarten and under. So infant, toddler, preschool, and kindergarten. Our program's covering that kindergarten age group. Once a child finishes kindergarten and moves on to grade 1, they will no longer be part of this system. Therefore, the families will not see any kind of subsidy towards their fees. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Trustee Moore, then Trustee Simpson.
Thank you very much to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for your hard work, Ms. Osterhoff. I know, Overhoff, I'm sorry, it's just very time consuming and laborious to become licensed. And I'm wondering how many children this will serve that we currently see in our 44 facilities.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair. At this point, we're talking upwards of 3,000 children in the system. It only affects the kindergarten children, though, so it's hard to really pinpoint a number on that, but it will affect every kindergarten child in our programs.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Simpson.
I'd like to echo what Trustee Lawrence said. I cannot believe, Trustee Moore, sorry about that. Trustee Moore.
It's okay.
Who's on first?
I was okay.
It is a mountain of paperwork to do this. I've been involved in licensing and I just cannot believe, I cannot believe that you managed to get 44 sites licensed. So congratulations on that. My next question is, did they alter the requirements at all? Like I know that there's a lot of measuring space and various things that have to do. Did they amend some of that so that you could accomplish this with a little more ease?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, they did provide a somewhat streamlined process.
because I'm typically used to licensing programs that are in brand new builds, where they do have to come in and measure space and see window space and whatnot. These are all existing schools. And so they did cut us a break on providing zoning letters. We did not have to do that. These are existing buildings, and these children are in these buildings all day long. And so there was no measuring of space. That was kind of the deal that I got. Everything else was the same for the licensing.
There are various monitoring guidelines that you have to do in licensed childcare. Will these now also apply to all of these EDP programs?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, they will. We're now under the SIA, the Child Care and Early Years Act, as opposed to the Education Act, when we were just regular unlicensed extended day programs. So we will need to comply. Luckily, we've been running those programs with the best practices of licensed childcare in mind for many years. And so I think it's going to be a fairly seamless transition.
Trustee Coburn?
Yep, thanks for this, Holly. And yeah, congrats on doing all that work. So you didn't take any vacation this summer, I take it?
I tried.
Help me understand the math, because we hear this from politicians, this $10 daycare. So the math is such, and you maybe did that already, the math is such that by 2025, parents who are eligible will be credited to the point that they pay $10 a day. Is that kind of how it works? Like,
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair. So to start, it's going to be 25%. And it's only for the families that have been with us since September, because we've only been licensed since September. So you may hear in the media people talking about parents being credited back to April 1st. That's only for programs that were licensed at that time. So for EDP, it's going to be back to September 1st. They will see credits, and then their fees will be reduced moving forward. In 2023, we'll see a further 50% reduction. So slowly but surely, their fees will go down. They won't always be receiving credits in their pockets, because we'll be doing that from the outset. And then again, by 2025, it will be going down to an average of $10 a day. So what I'm hearing is that for the City of Ottawa, it may look a little more like $12 a day, but yet to be seen.
thanks.
Any other questions before Trustee Simpson goes for her third question? Trustee Armstrong?
Through you, Mr. Chair, is there any sort of yearly or every 2-year inspection to maintain the license?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, there will be annual inspections by a program advisor from the Ministry of Education, as well as annual inspections by Ottawa Public Health.
Okay.
Trustee Simpson?
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, which I always forget. Usually fee payers will incur some kind of fee and expense along the way. With the government supplementing the childcares, will you be having to go to the government now to get an increase in pay because you aren't able to increase the fee for a fee payer who's paying $10 a day? And is this something that you might be concerned about in the future?
Great question. And through you, Mr. Chair, that is what those of us at the table are asking at this point. This will be a government regulated situation. And so in terms of salaries to our staff and to fees to our families, that's a question that remains to be seen. That might be controlled a little more than it has been.
Trustee McHugh and then Trustee Armstrong.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Holly, for all the work on this. I'm just wondering if you can give us any insights as to what's going on in Ottawa and licensing of other facilities. Is it being accepted or?
Sure. Well, I can tell you that the Ottawa District School Board has also licensed their extended day program. So at this point, Ottawa now has 110 new licensed childcare facilities to participate in this program and to have the benefits widespread to all the families.
Trustee Armstrong?
Through you, Mr. Chair, do you foresee any growing pains with the rollout?
Good question. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes. Many, but I do feel that the benefits outweigh those growing pains, and we're ready to tackle it.
Can you give me a couple of examples as to what you see as possible problems?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to start.
Would it be fair to say that it's going to be mostly administrative and added paperwork dealing with the government?
Absolutely. absolutely. And a staffing issue. If we're expected to expand all these licensed spaces, we have to have the staff to staff them.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Can I have a mover, please? Trustee McEwen and Trustee Moore, that the memorandum from the Superintendent of Student Success Elementary dated September 21st entitled Canada-wide Early Childcare System be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, ladies. Item L4, memo from the Associate Director of Business Affairs, read financial statements for the 10 months ended June 30th, 2022. Associate Director Shimmons, welcome. Is that your time clock?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I'm being tested on it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The June 30th interim financial report included in your memo tonight represents the trending for the first 10 months of the 21-22 fiscal year and the majority of all school-based expenditures. As a reminder, this report is prepared on a cash flow basis, and as such, the $30 million deficit shown on page 5 is a timing issue of funds received versus paid out. Specifically, at June 30th, the principal and teachers are fully paid for the months of July and August, which approximates $27 million, while the grants related to these costs are only received in each of the respective months during the summer. The revised estimates continue to reflect a balanced budget. Turning to page 3 on enrollment, enrollment remains unchanged, reflecting an overall decrease in enrollment growth from the original budget estimates to the revised estimates. We are expecting actual enrollment to come in at approximately 890 students down from the budgeted estimates, or 108 students down from the revised budgeted estimates. This additional loss of approximately $1 million from revised estimates is expected to be offset by other favorable variances, including such a reduction in the workers' compensation actuarial liability. Turning now to page 4 to the summary of operating activities. The summary of operating activities, GSN and local taxation revenues are consistent at 88.9% received as of June 30th year over year. Other revenues are down slightly, mainly due to the timing of the tutoring support program grant which ran over the summer. Overall, year-to-date operating expenditures are 93.7% spent as at June 30th. You will notice a more detailed breakdown of these expenditures in the schedule of operating expenditures on pages 8 through 10. Turning to page 8, the schedule of operating expenditures, the salaries and benefits are 94.7% spent, with operating expenses at 89% as of June 30th. Overall, classroom instruction is more aligned with expected spending at 97%. The most notable variance from prior year being our sick leave replacement costs, representing 35% increase due to significantly less school closures during the 21-22 year. Conversely, staff development costs are low, leaving little ability for PD coverage and COVID-19 restrictions that prevented various PD opportunities. Non-classroom expenditures are also up, mainly due to additional sick leave replacement costs overall, and administration costs are in line with the expected 83% at this time of year. Turning to page 11, the schedule of other operating revenue. Moving on to pages 11 and 12, the schedule of other revenue, you will notice a slight decrease of 3.9% in overall other revenues received as of June 30th. As mentioned earlier, a large part of this issue is due to the $1 million outstanding for the tutor support program. All Government of Ontario grants received to date are in line with respective agreements and timelines. Finally, on page 13, the statement of capital activities. As of June 30th, a total of $44 million has been invested in capital activities, including $5.4 million for the St. James addition, $1.2 million towards 2 new elementary schools, and $11 million for site costs. Also, $6.2 million in school renewal and portable projects, $16.3 million in school condition improvement projects, and $3 million in COVID resilience ventilation projects. With respect to the financing activities of these expenditures, all expected payments have been received from the Ministry of Ontario. So this concludes my overview of the June 30th interim financial report, and I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments? Trustee Whitted.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, just 2 questions. One I asked in the audit committee, and maybe there's a bit more detail or clarity, but any of that COVID resiliency money that we have heard that we may have to pay back, or there's any clawbacks that are potentially coming from the ministry on unspent money? And the second question is just related to sick leave and the supply costs that we've potentially had to eat over the last year that were not budgeted for, and can you give us a sense of maybe the unfunded amount and where we're at in that regard?
So through you, Mr. Chair, when you're saying the COVID resiliency money, you're meaning the overall COVID operating funding?
Yes, money we receive from the Ministry of Education or the province and any money they may want back that's unspent.
That's correct. So with respect to the COVID funding, we're still at that point of reconciling the final year end. So while we're maybe a week away from when we spoke about this in the audit committee, the finance staff are still working 7 days a week, evenings as well, to try and get to that last final amount. So we won't know that yet for probably maybe even another month before we have those final reconciliations. The auditors will be coming in a couple of weeks. So we will bring that information back to you. We have the financial statements coming. I know it's a big draw in November, so we'll be happy to share that information with you. The second question was with respect to the sick leave that
any unfunded sick leave that we have had to potentially fund as a board, and where the costs are there.
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair. At this time, again, we're continuing that analysis for the actual for the year end. That's at August 31st. The COVID funding, there was a large portion of the COVID funding that did supplement the sick leave. As natural, you would expect that there would be a lot of time spent off in the isolation leave. So that will be reconciled, but I don't have a figure for that yet.
Trustee Coburn.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for the presentation. As Trustee Whitted said, we received these statements at audit committee last week as well. Something that I read with interest in the press recently is that the province of Ontario is going to finish with a surplus this year, and the education expenditure is about $2.1 billion under what they had anticipated. So something ancillary to that I think the Minister of Education spoke of was with regards to the tutoring program. So we received a presentation last week on the tutoring program and the funding of that, and I know some of us were curious as to whether that would be extended or not. So have we heard anything from the ministry with regards to funds towards that tutoring program? Or as the minister said, I think he was going to provide it to the parents, I think he said directly. So just wondering if you've heard any updates on what share of that $2.1 billion that the ministry is going to send this board.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So that tutoring funding came in 2 chunks. Approximately $2 million was for the period April through August, so it would be included in the August 31st year end. And of course, the second half of that was approximately $2 million for September to December. So at this point in time, the information that we've heard is that the money will not be carried over, so it won't be fluid from the summer carried into the fall program. It will be restricted, and any money that is not spent as of August 31st would be required to be sent back to the ministry.
Trustee Moore, then Trustee Armstrong.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question. It's probably just terminology, but does supply staff expenditure include classroom supervisors? Usually we're talking about registered ECEs, EAs, and teachers.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. So you're referring to the supply line?
Yeah.
Generally, the supply line is for anyone who is a permanent hire. So it would be teachers, ECEs, EAs. Yes.
Thank you. I figured that was just a terminology thing I was missing. And the second one was Superintendent Valla was up here. So I think my question, it was about the COVID resilience infrastructure money. It's $3 million. Does that get rolled over to be spent for the last portion or next year because of the supply issues?
So thank you through you, Mr. Chair. So the COVID resilience CVRIS does continue on into another year yet. So you'll see that in our current year budget as well.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Armstrong?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Superintendent Chemans, I'm looking at the schedule of other revenues, page 12, comparing last year with community use of schools 3.2%, and this year it's 73.6. Just interested in, those are the numbers. Good to see that. Could you just fill us in a little bit on the story on the ground? Thank you.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. So with obviously the lifting of some of the restrictions, it did provide for more access to our buildings, which would obviously be replicated through these numbers in reflecting the additional community use and therefore the revenue related to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for your presentation. Can I have a mover, please? Trustee Coburn and Trustee Warren. That the memorandum from the Associate Director of Business Affairs dated September 21st, 2022, entitled Financial Statements for the 10 months ended June 30th, 2022, be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 5, memo from the Associate Director of Business Affairs, Annual Investment Report 2021-2022. Ms. Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a normal report that comes at this time each and every year. But what is new to the current year's report, and we're very pleased to share with you, is with respect to the sinking fund investments. So during the year, and actually on March 22nd, 2022, I believe it was, yes, it is 22nd. We did finally pay our final sinking fund debenture in the amount of $31 million. And we did so with the use of all the investments that had been put away in order to provide for that balloon payment when it became due. So we're pleased that that sinking fund is expired and that has been completed. So there will be no further investments coming forward related to the sinking fund in the future. The final shortfall on that sinking fund was $135,000, and that was related to the target investment rate for when that was originally placed. So when it was originally entered into, we needed a target investment rate of 2.5%. At the time, the investments were running over 3%, but then of course, as everyone knows, the last few years we've seen record lows in interest rate earnings. So we did actually finalize that sinking fund at very close to what the investment strategy was. With respect to the investment strategy, you do see in the latter half of your report the permitted investments, and we are restricted as a school board to only invest funds in very specified risk low risk investments because they are public taxpayers' dollars. And that is outlined in Ontario Regulation 4110. So during the year, our funds have been included in our current account. And at the very beginning of the report, you can see the interest rates that were generated on those funds during the year. And you can also see that those interest rates are quickly growing as you hear in the news, but at this point in time, it's still more beneficial to keep our funds in the current account than it is to put them in short-term investments. So that is where they are at this current time.
Thank you. Anybody have questions about sinking funds? I should have guessed.
The comment, I know my colleagues will be disappointed, but so this is it, sinking fund. We're going to pay our last one. Cindy, sinking fund is gone.
No more sinking funds. Any other questions? Gets a bum rap, doesn't it? Sinking bad money or low money. I move her, trustee Coburn. And trustee Whitted. That the memorandum from the Associate Director of Business Affairs dated September 21st, 2022, entitled The Annual Investment Report be received, and that the investment strategy for both short-term and sinking fund investments be presented above and be approved. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Item L6, memo from the Superintendent of Student Success Intermediate Secondary e-learning program overview. Welcome, Superintendent Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to bring an update. Sorry, I'm just going to grab a clicker here. My pleasure to bring an update on the current e-learn program within our board. And I'll begin in February of this current year. The Ministry of Education released Policy Program Memorandum 167, and that outlines new expectations for boards and students concerning and around e-learning courses. I'd like to frame those expectations in light of what our board currently offers students looking for e-learning opportunities. So first of all, in terms of our current situation, we've been running e-learning here within the Ottawa Catholic School Board since 2013. We currently have a dedicated e-learning consultant, Audra Abramitis, and her position fulfills the ministry role of TELT, or Tech-Enabled Learning and Teaching Contact. And primarily that role focuses on e-learning organization within our school board, training and support for teachers, which is ongoing as we invite new teachers into the mix in terms of offering e-learning, as well as a link to our e-learning delivery partners, and of which I will speak of shortly. So one of the benefits, certainly, of our internal e-learning program is the collaboration, and that's a collaboration among a number of different departments, including student success, special education, certainly learning technologies, anchoring the technology behind e-learning, as well as leading and learning and continuing education. And currently we have more than 100 OCSB teachers who have experience in facilitating e-learning courses. And e-learning is not just a particular course. The package includes a number of different courses across a number of different departments. All right. So here are some examples. Grade 9 math for grade 8 gifted students. And that's a reach ahead opportunity for those individuals. Human development throughout the lifespan. That's one of our many popular courses. Multiple sections are offered in that with regards to that course each year. College level physics, and that's a college prerequisite for certain health and technology pathways. And it's not able to be offered frequently in in-person environments. Given the numbers at a particular school, it's often one of those courses that we aren't able to move forward with. Another example is exploring and creating in the arts, so a specialty course there. Certainly an additional benefit of the e-learning approach is that courses may not run, as I indicated, because of lower enrollment at one particular specific school. However, if we are able to offer it to students across a number of different schools, we're able to maintain a student's pathway in terms of offering that course and having them able to enroll in it. All right. So just the evolution of our board's own e-learning offerings over time. So if you look originally, 2013, we were offering 15 e-learning courses. At this point in time, we are up to 43, and we certainly anticipate offering more in the coming years. And we haven't been alone in terms of building our e-learning program. We share course delivery with two consortiums, different groups that enable e-learning sharing across the province. And one of them is the Ontario e-learning consortia, and the second is the Ontario Catholic e-learning consortium. The Catholic consortium has been rebranded as Catholic Virtual Online. And being part of that consortium means that our students have access to over 1,500 different courses, including unique offerings that schools may not be able to provide on a regular basis. And some examples include earth and space science, world cultures, legal studies, equity, diversity, and social justice, as well as classical civilizations. So similar to the pathway challenges that we face, the benefit here is that students have access to niche courses that individual schools would not be able to run on their own. This next graph illustrates the relationship among our students, outside students, and different courses that we run. So if you take a look in terms of that first heading, we've got home students taking courses. So these are our own students, and you can see the progression over the years to the point right now where we've got over 1,000 students who are currently from our own board taking courses. As we go down that column, home board students taking home board courses. So the total was the top. Home board students taking courses, e-learning courses within our board, over 500. Home board students taking out of board courses. So this is where the relationship develops among the different boards, where they're offering courses and our students are able to take advantage of those. In addition, second to the bottom, out of board students taking courses within our school board. So that's where students who may be in a different board are able to take advantage of some of the home board courses that we're offering. And then finally, total home board students remaining waitlisted. So this gives us an idea that of the draw of these e-learning possibilities. So we would take a look at some of these numbers in terms of waitlisting, and we work with the consortia to ensure that we can provide as many opportunities to these students as possible. With the support of the Ontario Catholic School Trustees Association, the CVO, the Catholic Virtual Online Group, has made several Catholic courses available online as well. And a number of these courses are homegrown, developed by our own educators within the OCSB. And we prioritize these particular courses for our own students. So certainly as individuals are taking a look at filling out their course schedules, we are providing a priority to these Catholic courses. And this isn't an exhaustive list, but certainly a clear indication of the strong Catholic content that is offered. And I mentioned the PPM 167 at the outset of the presentation. Ministry direction is that all students must earn 2 e-learning credits over their high school career. Some of the additional qualifications that the ministry indicates is that the courses are delivered entirely asynchronously. So we take a look at our own St. Josephine virtual school. Those students themselves would have to take some of these courses. Their synchronous courses don't count towards the ministry's definition here. Online credits towards the graduation requirement may be earned at any time during the secondary students' school program, and starting as early as I indicated with grade 8 students opting into some of that programming. And finally, boards must develop a procedure that allows for students to opt out of the e-learning graduation requirement. And we will offer this opportunity, obviously, to students and families, but we are encouraged by the benefits and choice that this mode of learning provides to our students. So at this point in time, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to address those.
Trustee Armstrong.
Through you, Mr. Chair. For the benefit of our parents, can you briefly fill us in on how the Catholic e-learning consortium came into being?
Through you, Mr. Chair, they were developed early on as well as a organization that provided Catholic content in addition to the public consortium that was developing courses as well. And as I indicated, they have now been rebranded as the Catholic Virtual Online, and they have just very recently offered additional courses through boards that participate in that consortium relationship.
Thank you.
Trustee DeCamp, then Moore, then McEwen.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Can you just help me understand? There's a difference between someone being allowed to have a credit count towards their 2 e-learning credits, but not if it's synchronous learning? And why is that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's the ministry definition. So this was part of the plan to roll out courses that were entirely asynchronous. So teachers would develop these courses. Students would work through the content on their own, certainly supported by the teacher, assessed by the teacher, but it wouldn't be a situation. What wouldn't count for the ministry definition is a teacher delivering a live lesson, those kind of things to a group of students.
And I understand it's a ministry requirement, but do you have any idea why that is?
That's the type of programming, through you, Mr. Chair, that they wanted to promote through this online learning procedure that they implemented.
Thank you.
Yep.
Trustee Moore, then McEwen, then Whitted.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Last night, Ontario Catholic School Trustee Association held a professional development webinar. And it was way exciting to learn about correspondence courses that have videos in them now. And it's all done like a correspondence course. I'm old, sorry. I used to have to mail it in. But it's all done online now. And the Catholic component to it is very interesting in the when they're looking at the math was the example they used, and looking at Notre Dame Cathedral in Montreal as examples of parabolas, and using different quotes, Catholic quotes, Bible quotes, and then reflections from students, and bringing it into the math. So it was very interesting. They actually do make it very Catholic content. And I think you didn't give enough to your association of superintendents, to the directors of Catholic directors of education, and OECTA, our Catholic teachers, for making this happen and getting enough money for, I think it's 3 years for it to continue with. So that should make quite a library. But my question is the opt-out, how does that work for a family?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we would give families the opportunity to opt out of this graduation requirement. Our focus is on the benefits of e-learning and hoping that through promotion and the evolution of what these courses look like, that they will be attractive to students. They will give them those opportunities to have access to courses that they might not in their home school. So we certainly see a number of benefits to the program that we feel eventually will outweigh that opportunity for students to opt out, and that they will see what can be attained through this and hopefully want to be part of it.
Supplemental that does not include a monologue? No monologue. What supports will be available to our students who are on IEPs?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the nice thing of having some history here working through e-learning is that we've always had that expectation. Certainly supporting teachers, as I indicated, with training opportunities, support, but certainly our expectation that students are supported, whether they are just having some difficulty or whether they have a specific accommodation through an IEP, that they continue to receive that support as they would in a regular course at a high school. So that support would be offered by the homeschool. Resource staff would be aware of the course that the student's taking and be able to support them through that.
Trustee McEwen, then Whitted, then Lawrence, then Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. I'm just wondering, normally bums in seats, we get money. So I'm seeing students that are in other boards. How is this funded?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So this is an arrangement through all of the different boards. We are funded for our students. We don't receive any funding for additional students. So the consortium needs to find a balance between that. The number of students, and the number of courses a particular board is offering, and then they set some of their students out to take advantage of other courses. It does become problematic if a board only offers a small selection of courses and yet sends a very large group of their own students out. So there is an oversight within the consortium, and they are able to take a look at that and strongly encourage boards to manage their balance is the language they use. So we are constantly watching that even within a semester, but certainly from semester to semester to ensure that we are compliant with that offering a balance. But it is just, we are only getting funding for our students. Yeah.
Trustee Whitted.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, two questions. First is the option to opt out of e-learning and the implications that has on, potentially what your OSSD looks like. I note in your presentation it's noted on the student record, but is there any other sort of implications on your degree, on your diploma that you receive?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, our understanding is simply if students, families do want to opt out, they have that choice, and there would just be an indication that the student has made that choice going forward. So there would be no bearing on them receiving their diploma.
Okay. And the second question is, you noted, you referenced SPH4C, the college level physics, not being offered at every school, just to low enrollment, but it is a college prerequisite course for that sort of area of study. Would that be the only prerequisite college level or university level course that's not offered in every school, that we have to turn to e-learning to sort of solve that gap in some sites?
And through you, Mr. Chair, it has certainly been offered in regular in-person schools before. I'm not aware of any others that fit that definition. It just means in some cases they aren't offered every year. Schools may choose to offer them every second year, hoping that they can build up a strong enough group of students to take them. But certainly the option of e-learning allows some flexibility with that.
Just on a point of clarification to Trustee Whittett's question, if a family does opt out of the two courses, they have to replace them with two other courses.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Trustee Lawrence, then Simpson, then Armstrong.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Superintendent Kelly, I'm just realizing, I guess, we had designated all the English grade 11 classes this year for Indigenous authors, but a kid could opt out of that and do one of these courses or a course from another board at this point. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is a possibility if they decide to take an 11 English through another board. It's not a graduation requirement, so that they might attain their English credit somewhere else. So it's not the NBE, and they would still move on to grade 12 afterwards. Yes.
Well, hopefully it doesn't happen too often. Thank you.
Trustee Simpson, then Armstrong, then DeKemp.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Is there a process of these courses being vetted prior to the teacher supervising them to ensure that all of the curriculum-specific overall expectations and specific expectations are being met by the course?
Through you, Mr. Chair, a good example to take a look at is the recent courses from the Catholic Virtual Online Group. And we were privy to the advertisements that went out for individuals to do some writing on that. But there's a team approach. So you've got you've got teachers working on the actual writing. You've got people that then go through and review with a Catholic lens to ensure that's there, as well as reviewers. So there's a real team approach to the development of the course. So it isn't something where it's necessarily developed and reviewed afterwards. That's part of the process of implementation.
Trustee Armstrong, then Trustee DeKemp, then Trustee Whitted.
Through you, Mr. Chair. With the learning losses over the pandemic period, the ministry is emphasizing teachers elevate the amount of formative assessment that teachers do. So with that in mind, does the asynchronous aspect make it more difficult for teachers to engage in formative assessment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would suggest that the strategies that we recommend to all of our teachers are implemented at each course level, whether it's an in-person course, synchronous virtual course, or an e-learning course in this respect. So I think all the expectations are there for all teachers at each of those levels. So it's a standard approach.
Okay.
Trustee DeKemp and Trustee Whitted.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious, you showed a list that was not exhaustive, but had a lot of courses on it where the Catholic lens had been applied. And I'm just curious, in terms of like grade 12 physics, what does that look like?
Through you, Mr. Chair. We learned from the group that had produced the work yesterday through the online session that we were able to be a part of, that there's not only the curriculum specific to the course, but there's a great deal of background resource documentation as well related to Catholicism. So it's preparation for the course, not just the curriculum expectations on their own. But I would reflect Trustee Moore's suggestion that they do come up with some creative ways of integrating and infusing Catholicity within the courses.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Trustee Whitted.
Thank you, Chair. Just quickly through you. On slide 2, you referenced that we have more than 100 OCSB teachers with experience in facilitating. Is there some additional PD required or certification required to allow teachers to teach these virtual sessions?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would certainly suggest there's additional training for individuals who are new to the e-learning experience. There's no different certifications, although there are certifications in various software platforms that e-learning teachers may take advantage of to facilitate those courses, but no specific expectations. But our e-learning consultant is available for that training and support of teachers.
You've exhausted everybody and almost half twice. So very interesting topic. It was brought up at our OCSTA conference last Thursday, and I believe the funding amount was $840,000 that the province gave OCSTA to have the Catholic Alliance and have the Catholic teachers and directors involved in creating these courses. So it is a very worthwhile cause. Can I have a mover, please? Trustee Simpson and Trustee McEwen. The memorandum of the Superintendent of Student Success Intermediate Secondary dated September 21st, 2022, entitled E-Learning Program Overview will be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Sean. There's no new business. There's no notice of motions. Can I have a mover for the confirmation of the action report?
There is a notice of motion.
There's not a notice of motion. He's going to send it in for agenda planning. Because I don't have a copy of the motion, I do not have a seconder. So there's no notice of motion.
Mr. Chair, I've sent it to you by email. It's right in your email.
I'm busy
Point
running
of
the meeting, so I've
order,
not had a
Mr.
chance to
Chair.
read it.
We
In your email.
passed the agenda as it was presented, so there is no notice of motion.
There is no notice of motion on the agenda, correct? It would be, Trustee Armstrong, you would need to present it for the agenda planning of the next board meeting, written, and have a seconder on it, please. I need a mover for the confirmation of the action report, please. Trustee Warren, Trustee DeKemp. That the action report covering the period of September 13th, 2022 be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Inquiries, administrative announcements, Mr. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Trustees have been receiving administrative support from Louise Vincent in the Directorate. I'm pleased to share that on September 25th, Louise and her husband welcomed baby Jack into the world, and we wish her well during her maternity leave. That's the end of my announcements.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have an inquiry.
I've already passed that to administrative announcements. Is it a question to
It's
do with
just
the?
a quick question to the director.
Direct it to me, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Not meant to be a long-winded answer, but to the director, do you foresee a need to update staff dress codes?
Okay, that's not on the agenda. Possibly you can talk to him offline about that. Can I have a mover to adjourn the meeting, please? Trustee McEwen and Trustee Woodard. That the regular board meeting of September 27, 2022 be adjourned at 8:43 p.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Trustee Coburn, in favor? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.